we have one of the most unique conversations we've had thus far. From radio host to mod to streamer extraordinaire, we are blessed to be joined with the one and only LokesLive. Hello, sir.
Hi, how
Thank
are
you. So I would be so much better if I knew about what happened at the cabin in 2023. I feel like that's very important before we get into your journey. I feel like this is very important to know.
Yeah. So can I hide? I can hide. Okay, I'm going to hide your chat. I'm going to have you up over here so I can just see a visual of you. But okay, yeah. So I made the horrible mistake of sharing this very intimate situation with some of the community. So let me take you back in time. Not really that far at all. Maybe 2 months ago, let's say, a month and a half, 2 months ago, I ventured to the great north of Michigan with Little Lokes and Mrs. Lokes.
Like Canada?
Excuse me?
You said like above that location? Oh.
Like northern area of Michigan.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Still in the lower peninsula. Most people don't know Michigan has a lower and an upper peninsula, but lower peninsula, but still way up there. Anyway.
Okay.
We ventured north to go spend time up at my dad's cabin area. He has a summer cabin, and we were also going to be getting met up with my niece and her husband and her children who live in Oklahoma, who I haven't seen in years.
Okay.
Haven't even met her little ones yet. So we were going to have a little family meetup up north, up at Papa's cabin, if you will.
Okay.
Papa's cabin is small, but we decided, hey, let's not cramp everyone's style. Let's rent a cabin for the three of us, Mrs. Lokes, Little Lokes, myself. So we find this adorable little cabin 15 minutes away from Pop's place, if you will.
Okay.
Turns out it is literally brand new. It's a brand new cabin. It's small, but it's quaint. It's cute.
Okay.
Literally first guess. Like you walk in and you can smell like urethane or something from like the staining of the walls. There's plastic little peels on like the microwave shit and everything. Everything's brand new.
Wow.
So it's actually kind of cool. Like we didn't even know that was a thing, but we were the first guests in said cabin. So I would like to point out before we go too much further, we had gone out to eat. This is like the incident takes place on like day 3 of the trip.
Okay.
So the first couple of days we're there. We're going around. We're dining. We're doing the things you would do on a trip. And people keep, whenever we go to like a restaurant, they're like, "Would you like some water?" And I'm like, "Sure." Or I'll order water. They're like, "Do you want bottled or tap water?" They're asking because it's like well water. And I grew up in the country and I'm like accustomed to it. So I'm like, hit me with the tap water, you know? It's got like a lot of minerals and things that you wouldn't normally be introducing to your body if you're a city guy like I am nowadays.
Okay.
So I wake up, I think day 3 of the trip, and it's early morning. I walk out of my bedroom. Mrs. Lokes is in the living room, reading a book quietly in the living room. And I'm like, "Hello, dear. Good morning. How'd you sleep?" You know, things like that. And then while we're discussing this, I get a little rumble in my belly. And I'm like, "Oh, I need to use the facilities." And then I'm standing like 3 feet from the bathroom. And by the time I get to the bathroom, it goes from like, I need to go to the bathroom to, hey, we have a real issue on our hands that I haven't experienced in recent time. So I get into position, and then it becomes like, oh, I just realized if I bend at my waist, we have problems. Like it went from 0 to 200 in like 0.5 seconds. So I know I can't just like stand there and hope that this goes away. I have to deal with the situation. And just as I feared, things ejected prematurely And I won't get into like disgusting details, but matter got all over the toilet, the wall, the floor, the bathtub, the vanity.
Where were you facing that it went to the bathtub? How was this place? Because, okay.
Ricochet took place.
Okay. Yeah, I get that.
I don't know, dude. But I spent a half hour cleaning this pristine, prestigious, if you will, bathroom that had just been christened by your boy. It had never been used until we pulled into town.
Yeah.
And that's how I treated it. So I've told this story no less than 8 times, and people keep wanting me to tell it more, even though it's the most embarrassing. I only told it because I'm like, hey, this will make for funny story time.
Yeah.
But Jesus, I didn't think I'd be telling it for like the 9th or 10th time just now. So, yeah.
I mean, I did the same thing when I was like 8, so I get it. You know, we all have our moments where it's just you gotta do what you gotta do. I was at the YMCA. They locked the bathrooms after we were done, after the school day was done, and this was after school curriculars. I'm just standing there. I'm like, Jeremy, really gotta poop, man. I really gotta do it. He's like, yeah, hold on, I'm finished. I was like, no, like, we gotta do it now. He's like, yeah, just 1 second. Same situation. There was not another second.
Yep.
So
yep.
I get you, and that was just throwing that out there to help you feel less alone in your, some might say, shitty situation.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't have that issue when I was 8, so that was I made it.
You saved it for adulthood.
Yeah.
Is this your first time shitting your pants?
I didn't shit my pants.
Well, I'm sorry, having shat into something that wasn't the toilet.
Don't insult me. I didn't shit my pants. I just shit everywhere in a room. Yes, that's I think the only time I ever had that level of an issue ever. And yeah, I mean, so that's cool that I made it that far into life.
That almost sounds worse though. Like I'd rather shit my pants in somewhere that's not a bathroom than shit my pants over the bathroom. Well, sorry, shit. We can't say shit. You'd just again not in the. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was
interesting.
Everywhere.
Got a solid constitution, man. Good for you. You should enter contests.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be like a pay-per-view type situation, I'm sure, but yeah.
As in, you have to pay other people to view it?
Probably.
Yeah, I get that.
I'm sure somebody's into it.
You wouldn't be surprised. I was like, you've existed on the internet long enough. Well, it's a great opening. So that's perfect. Anyways, how has your bowels been since? We've been good. We learned to have bottled water now. I would have expected that. Excuse me, from a trip down south. I would have not anticipated that would have been your journey. Yeah, from Michigan.
Yeah, and
Michigan water. You would have thought you would have been good.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't Flint, like not to make like dark jokes, but like this wasn't Flint water.
No, like you would have assumed you could trust the water.
Yeah, and like I said, I grew up in a literal farm town, like where it was like really earthy, like well water, and this actually tastes borderline like city water. So I was like, this is nothing. And boy, oh boy, did my boy. Apparently, the municipality water that we receive now is miles ahead of what's available in the countryside. So
yeah,
the more you know.
Note to self: don't trust Michigan water.
Never.
Cool. Well, thank you for your vulnerability, and I am sorry that you had to tell that story again. It was just everyone kept saying you have to ask him, you have to ask him, we have to talk about it. So good to know that this will exist on the internet forever.
No, it's fine. I actually have I had recorded the last time I told it, but I still haven't made it to a video. But you're actually doing me a favor because now I can put this to rest. And if they're like, what's the cabin incident of 2023? I said, go check out. I think it's episode 13 of the What the Fluff.
Yep.
There you go. Whatever episode.
It'll be 13. Yep.
There you
go. I think this is technically conversation number 14, but I lost the Marley recording, so we're just forgetting that one happened.
That really sucks, by the way.
I was so mad. I was so jazzed on that one too. But you know what? Now we know. Always triple check once you end a recording and delete shit.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, 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 yeah.
so what do we? I feel like I've jacked this question from Diary of a CEO, but what do we need to know about how you grew up, about what your youth was like, in order to better understand the man we know now?
That's. I'm actually not being corny. That's a phenomenal question, and I didn't mean to say it just like
Thanks.
Chadwick would.
Yeah, that is
That's a
a
phenomenal
phenomenal
question.
question.
No. I was actually kind of like thinking about this today, just kind of wondering what you would ask directly, but yeah. So I would say, like growing up, even very, very, very recently. I'm 38 now. I just turned 38 in July. Um, I was not one of those people that was like born with the gift of knowing exactly what I wanted to do with my life. Like my wife, for instance, she knew from like grade school that she wanted to be a teacher, and that rules. Like I think it's a blessing to, grow up knowing this is what I meant to do, and not like just somebody that likes to play football and they want to be in the NFL but have absolutely no chance. Like
Yeah.
somebody who's like geared for a thing, they're meant for it and they know it and they know what to do to pursue it. Um I had like a few like fleeting things when I was a kid, like kind of similar to what I was just painting with the NFL, but at one time I loved drawing and stuff and I thought I'd want to be a cartoonist. Turns out you got to be really good at drawing to be a cartoonist. Little
Yeah.
did I know. Yeah, yeah. But what I kind of am realizing looking back now, like I was always, always, always the class clown, which made me a crowd favorite amongst students. But
Yeah.
usually made the staff not enjoy me. But that's what always brought me joy. And then, unlike you, I mean, at what point did you, not to like flip the table, but like, at
Oh,
what
so
point
good.
did you know that you wanted to be like an actor?
Yeah, as long as I can remember.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was putting on plays with my cousins and doing voices from Mad TV and shit like that when I was like 7 or 8. So yeah,
Gotcha.
this was always what it was meant to be, if you will. And I wanted to
Right.
ask, how were your parents in regards to your tomfoolery?
Yeah. So, well, the only thing I wanted to add to that before moving on
Yep, do
was,
it.
unfortunately, even though like being the class clown, like I didn't have that like click of like I should do X with being a silly goose, if you
Mm.
will. But to your question about the parents, my mom did not enjoy the tomfoolery.
Nice.
Um, I'm coming home like every couple of months with a grade card saying like, Daniel. I was a Daniel when a
Oh
child.
gosh.
Like Daniel, it was always like Daniel's way more capable than what he's, achieving in class. If he would stop talking to everyone and making jokes, he could achieve a lot more. He's got a lot of potential was a word that got thrown around a lot. Um, but for like the longest time, I didn't really know what to do with just being a silly goose, and I even remember, I'll tell you actually a really funny memory. One time, this is actually batshit crazy thinking back that I said this at the age I was. I was in student council in middle school, and I want to say I was probably, God, that's crazy. My kid's 10, and I'm realizing in comparison how old I was. I was probably like 12 years old when this happened. I think I was probably in like seventh grade or eighth grade, middle school, and a perk of what we got to do, being student council reps, was we got to like stand up on stage and like kind of intro the talent show for the year.
Okay.
And we were I have a shitty memory, but I remember this like very plainly. We were all standing in a line and we all just awkwardly decided that what we were going to do was we'd start with the person all the way to the right. We'd say like, I'm blah blah blah, hand the mic to the next person. They'd say I'm blah 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 and keep doing. And I was at the end, and all I heard was like, I'm Laura, I'm John, whatever. And like just in the moment, I go, I'm Dan, and we're all alcoholics. And like the fact that I was in a middle school talent show, like everybody laughed hysterically, but like I got off stage and I got reamed immediately by staff. Like, you can't make jokes like that. And I was like, okay, like that's fine. And I just wish I had known like back then, like I don't know how it didn't snap in my head, like you should do stand up comedy. I wish I would realize that that was a thing I could have pursued way back then. It just seemed like so out of reach. I think my whole life, kind of to my detriment, I've been like painfully realistic about everything and like
Mm,
pragmatic, you know?
yeah.
So like for you, you probably knew that acting was difficult, but despite that, you still pursued it.
Oh, yeah.
I I think I looked at stand up and I was like, there's no way. So I basically kind of just back burnered that entirely and then kind of just went about doing what most people do. I didn't go to college. I ended up well, we can get into that too, but uh I went right out of high school into just working full time. College wasn't really an option for me financially or really educationally. Well, I could have went to like community college or something, but it wasn't really top concern for me. But yeah, I went kind of 0 to 60 with like adulthood real quick due to circumstances that we could explore if you'd like.
It's up to you, man. This is.
No, yeah,
I'm just here to steer the train. You just chug along.
no, you're good. I would say two things kind of, yeah, a few things kind of like molded things from early on. I actually had a pretty normal upbringing, generally speaking. And then when I was like 12, and apologies to everyone listening, I've had some some dark things happen to me early on, but it is what it is. I think when I was like 12, I had a brother who was 21 or 23, I think maybe, died in a car accident. Like, obviously, no one dying in a car accident's good, but like, I won't go into details, but my brother died in a very, very bad car accident.
Mm.
Oh, hell, I'll actually tell you. I won't go into like gruesome details or anything, obviously, but uh, he was driving late at night one night with a buddy, a longtime friend of his. He had a Ford Mustang convertible that he'd recently bought. Um, we still don't know to this day what really happened, like why this happened, but he ended up, you ever like come across like railroad tracks that are kind of like, they kind of come to a peak on the
Yeah.
roadway.
You can do a little jump off of
He,
them.
yeah. Well, he jumped off of it going like 120 or something and crashed into the basement of a house. Like never even like touched the ground. Just like I
What?
met, yeah, like a house that was 150, 200 feet away from the tracks. Like he was going that fast and he launched that hard and high that it landed in the basement of a house. And it's fucking crazy. um, my brother died instantly. Somehow his friend lived completely
What?
fine. Yeah. Um, he immediately, like afterwards, didn't want to talk about it, which I get. But like,
Yeah.
I know the guy exists, and I even like friended him on Facebook. But I don't have the balls to just one day be like, "Hey, by the way, what happened that night?" Because
By
I
the way.
guess, yeah. By the way, uh, uh, like he apparently wasn't drunk or anything. He didn't. Nobody thought he was suicidal or anything. But yeah, so there you have it. My brother just died very unexpectedly when I was like 12. And then that made my mom like very, very paranoid about like letting us kind of go out and do things in our lives, which I totally get now being a dad. Um, and then unfortunately, tied to her when I was 15. Keep in mind, yeah, I'm 38 now. This is when I was 15, so some time has passed. My mom went into the hospital when I was 15. I don't remember all the specifics, but I know for a fact, obviously. My mom ended up finding out she had bladder cancer. And she
Jeez.
went in, yeah. So she went into the hospital to get her, unfortunately, her bladder removed and get like one of those like colostomy type bag things put on her side. And she actually went through the surgery successfully and made it out. And then, well, I'll kind of tell it in, yeah. So it was actually the weekend of my homecoming game and dance in high school, my freshman year. And I remember I went to go see her with my dad Friday night, like the night of the homecoming game. And I like picked up my tux that night, and she was resting in her hospital bed, and she's like, "Try the tux on. I want to be able to see you, like what you're gonna look like when you go to the dance." I'm like, "All right." And I was like, I remember getting all pissed off because I wanted to like hurry up and get out of there and go to the game because it was the night of the homecoming game. I wanted to go hang out with my friends. So I remember like trying to put the tux on, and like the buttons were giving me shit, and I was just getting annoyed, and I'm like flustered. I'm like, God, I just want to get out of here, you know. So I try on the tux to show her, you know, I go to the game and everything. And then the next morning, Saturday morning, I wake up to like my sister like screaming, and she's like waking me up, and she goes, "Dad's on the way home. Mom's not doing good." And I was like, okay. And then my dad shows up. He drives me and my sister to like from above the Michigan Ohio state line down to Toledo, Ohio, where I live now. He's driving to the hospital like as fast as he can. I remember he blew through so many red lights. Like
Jesus.
We're lucky that we're alive, even and everything. But we get there, and I don't know what the hell's going on. Like last I knew, my mom was just resting and getting better.
Yeah.
And then we're in like the emergency room, like waiting room, and I remember like still being like totally clueless. And I looked around. There was a bunch of like nurses standing around, and I go, "Is my mom okay?" And they all like collectively like just looked away from me, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Perfect.
And then come to find out what we find out is my mom, completely unrelated, had absolutely nothing to do with her surgery or her recuperation or her. She had an aneurysm in her brain burst, and she just bled internally. Like, had she not been in the hospital for this surgery, she just would have been living her life and would have like dropped dead, basically. It was so weird. Like it had nothing.
What?
Again, yeah, like she could have just been like driving a car or eating breakfast or what. Not, I don't need to name a bunch of innocuous things she could have been doing, but had nothing to do with what was taking place.
Yeah.
And it really rocked me. Like obviously, I was 15. I had a girlfriend at the time, and I remember like I was so fogged in the mind with it. I like called my girlfriend at the time, and I was like, "I'm sorry, but I can't come to homecoming tonight. My mom died." And she was like, "You don't have to say you're sorry. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to say." I'm like, No, you're good, And I didn't really know what to make of it. And yeah, so
The second you fucking started that, I was like, I swear to God, if your mom dies at the end of this.
yeah. So that was freshman year.
That was freshman year of high school.
Yeah. So
Jeez,
at that point, at this point in my life, I have a couple of like step and half brothers and sisters, but at this point in my life, it's just me and my dad living in our home in Ida, Michigan. Not like the city matters.
And what's life like?
Yeah. For a while, like not a whole lot. Like oh yeah, this is also a fun thing.
Does someone die at the end of this?
No.
Okay.
No.
So you get 2 deaths per story.
That's fair. I played my
you played
my
your 2
card
already.
Yes. No, this all happened at like the peak of like your mom being a thing. Like,
oh dear God.
So like I was a fucking freshman in high school, and it like every day I'd be like, your mom. And then I got to see the look on people's faces when they realized like, oh, I just said that to a kid whose mom just died.
Yep.
So like it was just day after day, like, and me like apologizing to people for apologizing. Like, no. Like, you're fine. Like, don't feel bad that my mom passed away.
Oh my God.
So it was a lot of that. I started kind of withdrawing from like giving a shit about my grades and things of that nature. I think I just started to act out more and more. I was never like an asshole, like mean, but I just would be more and more of a class clown. And then I remember not even like a year later, my dad's fine. My dad's fine.
Thank God, dude.
My dad, I remember we were driving somewhere, and he was like, "Hey, this is less than a year after my mom passed," and he was like, one of my friends wants me to meet this lady to hang out with. He goes, I don't want to like date her or anything. He goes, I'm just lonely, with your mom being gone. And like, it kind of like tugged at my heartstrings. I'm like, oh yeah, like go for it, man. Like definitely you deserve to kind of have somebody to talk to and stuff. And I'll spoil it now. They're married and have been for a very long time, but
says the man I don't want to date.
Yeah.
Famous last words.
Right. So he started dating her, and like while I was going through high school, they were dating, and he'd be at her house a lot, and like they kind of like started kind of living their lives at her place. So for a while, for like a year or two, I was basically like living alone at my like childhood home. Yeah. Now like I wasn't like abandoned. Like my dad was still taking care of me and everything. Like it was nothing dark like that. But a lot of his free time, he was up there when he wasn't at work. I would still see him and everything, but I had a lot of freedom basically. And I ended up getting like a solid, steady girlfriend at the time. And we once went on like, I went with her, my dad, her, and her kids down to Florida to go visit my grandpa and do like a kind of a Disney trip. And this is when I got to introduce to her kids. Yeah. They were the biggest asshole kids.
Oh no.
I'm talking like bad, John, like calling her a bitch to her face.
What?
Yeah. And they were like teenagers. And like she had gone through a divorce and stuff. So my dad's not their dad type of thing and blah, 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 blah. But they were terrible, terrible, terrible kids. And I remember we got home from the trip and I said to my dad, I said, please promise me you'll never make me live with those kids. And he goes, yeah, like for sure. That won't happen. Well, going into my senior year of high school, he says, well, we've kind of talked about it and it doesn't make sense that we have 2 mortgages and all that stuff. So we're going to move in together. So you're going to be coming with us. And I'm like, awesome. And they're talking about moving somewhere that's a half hour, 40 minutes away from where I go to high school. So like, we're talking about me riding on the highway for a half hour to go to and from school every day to a place that I don't want to live and all that stuff. So I end up moving in for a little bit. It goes terribly. I like resent his lady because of all this. Things were bad, and I felt like a lot of my dad was picking her over me type stuff. So I was in a long running relationship with the girl, and her parents actually, weirdly enough, offered that if I kept a steady job, I could come live with them. And like not in a weird like they were actually super religious. They were like, you're going to stay in this room, no funny stuff, but like if you keep a job, you can come live with us so you can be closer to school and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay.
And you're how old?
Yeah, I'm like 17.
Okay.
Max. I might be 16 or 17. So I keep this up, and then her awesome dad decided to change the rules. He goes, I know what I said, but no, you can't live here anymore. I'm like, oh, cool.
Jesus.
And like, I can't be mad at him. Like, you're letting your high school daughter's boyfriend live with you. Like, what are you going to say? So my senior year ended up turning into like me kind of couch surfing from like friend's house to friend's house. Like I was essentially kind of homeless. Like it was not great.
Yeah.
But like at this point, things had deteriorated really badly between me and my dad. So yeah, I was a lot of like, there was 1 or 2 times where I literally couldn't find a place to stay. So I ended up sleeping in my car. So like there were a couple moments where I was literally homeless, like my my senior year of high school.
Jeez, dude.
So we did that for a while. I graduated. And then all this time I was getting, if you don't know, I didn't know this obviously until now when this was happening. If you die, it's forever. No.
Maybe.
If your parent dies before you're 18, you get like Social Security money paid to you from their like gathering, if you will, like over time.
Okay.
So I was getting like a monthly payment to me from my mother, and my idea was I was going to start putting all this money together to start getting my own apartment now that I was out of high school. And I remember things kind of came to a head where I was going to get the final like payment I think I needed to make this all happen. I was going to get like a U-Haul truck and do all the things I needed to do. And all the checks were getting directly sent to my dad, and he had to like forward them to me. So that one time I said, "Hey, I really need that money. I'm going to go like set all this stuff up. Can you send me the money, please?" And he's like, "Yeah, if you head to the bank, I'll take care of it right now." I'm like, okay, cool. And bear with me, this will be a little bit of a stop and go thing, but trust me.
Keep saying words.
I go to the bank and I said, I need to pull out X amount of money. And she's like, yeah, it's not there. I'm like, okay, let me go call my dad. I go out, get on my my cell phone, like one of the shitty like Nokias back then, this was a long time ago. And I'm like, hey, they didn't have the money yet. Can you take care of that? He's like, yeah, I'll do it. Okay. So I wait a couple minutes, go back in. Money's still not there. I'm like, okay. So I call him again. I'm like, hey, remember that thing I just talked to you about like a couple minutes ago? And he goes, I talked to my mother-in-law at this point. Well, who's my mother-in-law now? Like I talked to my stepmother, I should say. We talked, and we don't think you should have the money because we don't think that you're doing the right things with it. And I was like, I was shaking mad. I'm in the parking lot of like a credit union. I was like, number one, that's my money from my mother. Like, this isn't your choice.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get my life on track right now. Like, I'm trying to get a place and start my life. And he's like, we just don't feel like you're doing the right things. And I was like, okay. So it was at that point I decided me and Dad were no longer on good terms, and we stopped talking for actually a couple of years. But despite that, I think a little help with my girlfriend at the time, got a place of my own, started working like a shitty warehouse job, but nonetheless, got on my own 2 feet, got my own place, was taking care of myself. It was really cool. Like, it wasn't the dream. I had a really shitty car and I didn't enjoy my job, but like all was well. I was taking care of myself. I had a girl. Things were good. So yeah, that was my entry into like, I worked before that, but that was my introduction from like high school into adulthood with, getting hit with adulthood real quick,
And
out of necessity.
as you're doing that, if you can remember, do you have any expectations or goals or any insight in what you want the future to look like? Or was it more survival mode, get yourself comfortable in that moment and just go with whatever happens is happening?
Yeah, there were no aspirations. It was just get paid, have a roof, Like I didn't even grow up like poor or anything, but like kind of those last few years of high school and everything kind of like hardened me, and kind of things got tougher,
Yeah.
And it was a lot of more like survival type shit than enjoying yourself. But yeah. So like at that point, no, I wasn't thinking of like careers. I was just thinking, if I didn't want to keep the job I had, but get a good paying job, take care of yourself. That's it. And then kind of from there, I kind of went from that to a couple of like pretty bad jobs. Like I ended up in like retail and things like that. And it wasn't until, what would it be? Like late 20s until I actually got like a job that was beyond like just a job. Like I ended up having like something with some sort of aspirations. I think the first thing I took seriously was working in radio, and that was probably when I was like 27 or something like that.
So what led to that?
Yeah. So well, to rewind, it doesn't take much. What was it? Probably actually around the time that I got out of high school, a little bit after that, I ended up randomly landing a radio internship at a local radio station, and it ended up being amazing. They're actually the guy I worked for and the people that interned with me. I still keep in contact with these guys to this day. Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's been what, 15 plus years, and we're still friends. But ended up interning for this night show, aka didn't get paid, but showed up like 5 nights a week, hung out, did this evening show, and it was a blast. Like It's how I got the nickname Danimal for a long time. That's what you actually my gamer tag used to be, which you knew
Yep.
originally. Um, and yeah, I just became the funny guy there. I did like a lot of like stupid like stunt type stuff. Nothing like jackass level really, but one time I fell into a fountain on purpose at the local mall and recorded it just to be an ass. A lot of like radio prank type stuff and just silly shit. But
How does one display a prank over the radio of you getting pushed into a fountain? That sounds like a very visual.
oh, you're right. You're right. We thought of that, and that was one of the hurdles. But I really like hammed it up, and when I fell in, I like kind of just screeched, and we had like audio
Oh
of me
my
going in the fountain
God.
of just like, oh. And then a security guy like came up and approached me, and I just immediately booked it for the exit nearest to where the fountain was, and all was fine.
Nice.
We did like a thing where we had to go to like to the local. We have a University of Toledo here. We were supposed to go. It's so dumb. We went around to like the women's dorms, and we were doing a panty raid, and you had to give us your panties to get tickets to whatever show. It was just stupid, like childish radio shit from like back then. Um, just shenanigans. But it always had me interested in getting into radio. I knew it was tough, much like it just seemed like a nice creative outlet. If it really came to, me kind of finding something that I'd be geared towards, people always
Yeah.
said I had a good voice. People always thought I was funny. So it seemed like a good thing to get into. And I started putting some time and effort into that, but it kind of did fizzle out. Um, well, there was another life moment.
Yep.
We're gonna pivot for a minute, but it's important. While I was interning, I was still said with said girl friend that I had from high school. I stayed with her for just shy of 7 years. I proposed to her, and we got married. This was when I was 23. I got married at the age of 23, and people are like, that's really, really young. Yes, but I was with her for like 7 years. It wasn't like we just decided to up and get married. Like, we had been together for a long time.
And just to give everyone solace, she didn't die. So we're good. We can you can unpuck her for the rest of the story. Continue.
So we get married. At the time, I have like a tight group of friends, and I just kept on noticing something was weird going on with her. And she had a close friend named, well, it doesn't matter, a close female friend that she worked with. And it's just weird. Like, never in my life did I think something was weird going on with my girlfriend and whatever. And at the time, I had mutual friends where, like, one of my good friends, his girlfriend, worked at the same place my girlfriend did. And we were all hanging out one day, and we used to smoke a ton of pot. We were in the car, and I remember going like, I know it's weird, guys, but like, I feel like something's going on with girlfriend and this female friend. And my friend's girlfriend goes, "Oh, it's so weird that you say that." And I was like, "Excuse me?" And she's like, "Yeah, like everybody at work just thinks it's so weird how like close they are and how much they hang out with each other, just like the nature of their relationship." I'm like, "Yeah, that's how I feel." I'm like, "That's shitty that you just confirmed my feelings." So we get married. I think we were already married at this time. So like this was just like very, very shortly after we got married. And then one day I'm sleeping, and I wake up to somebody banging on my door. I had bought like a trailer, really classy, but I was 23 and married, so I bought one of
Bro,
those like
you have your own.
double
You're good.
wides.
You're so good.
Somebody banging on my door. I open up the door, and there's a strange man two strange men on my like deck. Yeah, on my dick.
That sounds like the beginning of an interesting video.
Two dudes, and I'm sitting there like shirtless. I'm like, "Can I help you?" And he's like, "I think your wife is having an affair with my wife." And I was like, "Oh, like, come on in.
Come on in. I'll put a shirt on.
Yeah, let's talk." And basically, yeah, this guy was like he kind of ended up finding out more than I did in the time that I did, but he found like weird fucking like love letters between my wife and his wife and all this weird stuff. It basically just confirmed everything that I thought was going on. And I think I mentioned it earlier, but she grew up extremely religious. Like her
Yeah.
grandpa was a pastor. She grew up Pentecostal, and if you don't know what that is, it's the people that run up and down the aisles speaking in tongues and dancing and jumping, and like it's hardcore church.
Yeah.
Um so she was very like she grew up in a very repressed situation. So looking back now, I'm very, very, very confident, and I'll tell you more details, but I think my ex just grew up very sheltered, found out about alcohol, and had a wacky night with her girlfriend, thought she was in love and everything. By the way, spoiler alert, she's not a lesbian. Like she's now years and years and years later, she's with men. The last time I saw like on social media, like years ago, she's with a guy. Trust me, like people are gay sometimes. She just wasn't.
That's the quote. Trust me. People are gay sometimes. If you guys didn't know, Lokes is your source. You could trust him. Some people are gay. She wasn't. Okay, continue.
Sometimes dudes like dudes. Sometimes chicks like chicks. So like I had to contact her the day this happens, and I'm like, hey, I talked to, so and so. And she's like, all right, I'll come over later and stuff. And then she ends up like putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. I'm standing outside like chain smoking cigarettes because I'm like dying. And she basically admits that everything was true. And she tells me that she doesn't love me like you should love a husband. I love you more like a friend. And like, that's awesome to find out after we got married.
Yeah.
She loves this girl. They're soulmates or whatever. I'm like, okay. So basically everything falls apart very, very abruptly, very unexpectedly. Everything kind of goes to shit. So yeah, this was like during like the housing crash of like 2008 and stuff. So I was supposed to be splitting everything with her, and now I'm single. I live in a place I can no longer afford. Everything's on my shoulders because everything was in my name. She splits. She has the audacity to like get petty and tries to like, what's the word? Like she wanted to like take some of our wedding gifts and shit. I'm like,
oh,
this isn't a parting gift situation. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you don't get to pick and choose your prizes after you ruin my life. And then like, I won't go into it, but there was another thing where a very, very close female friend of mine who was kind of mutual friends with my ex, only because she was friends with me. I found out like after the fact I break up with my ex, she went and like had a night out drinking with her, and I'm like, hey, like not cool. And she got like really shitty with me, and she's like, I'm friends with her too. And I'm like, yeah, but your friend kind of ruined my life, and the only reason you knew her was because of me. And so basically I lost like a best friend. I lost my, ex. I went through deep depression. It was the only time in my life that I was actually suicidal, which is kind of embarrassing in a way. Not like, trust
why?
me, just for the fact of like, just because of what it was over. Like, you should never, word to the wise of anybody listening, a significant other is never, no reason to ever want to kill yourself, but definitely not a significant other. You will always move on. It's never that serious.
Interesting. Like, I don't know if I agree.
In what way? Go ahead.
In that, I think we can all attach certain values to certain things. And so one reason isn't, I mean, I think I will also agree in that you shouldn't. You shouldn't. Don't stay here. Please be with us. Just go take a nap, wake up to fight another day tomorrow. You're going to do great. But I think that to judge anyone's reasoning for getting to that point is silly in a way, because I think we can all think of things that are very, very important to us, that matter, that affect us in certain ways that might not be felt to the same depth by others. But there's no, like, again, I think you shouldn't allow someone to have that much control over your life. But I can definitely understand having your life be that person. And so when that, whether it's a job, whether it's your physical abilities, whether it's your partner, we can make certain things our life. And when those things disappear, it can feel as though our life isn't worth living anymore. It can feel like, okay, well, what's the fucking point now? And so you go to that dark place. And I feel especially, and that's why I feel with it being a person, that's like, you can be so affected and attach so much value and joy and purpose to someone else in your life that when that goes, your will can go with it. But there is the important understanding of they weren't your whole life. You were a whole person before. You are a whole person after. It's just having that wherewithal to remember that. Because, yeah, when you're in those dark places, fucking hell, dude, it's really hard to see any sort of joy, any good thing you have going on that is reason enough to stick around. So it's one of those, I don't want you to judge yourself in hindsight in terms of I shouldn't have or whatever. Like, no, you definitely felt what you needed to do. That person was your life. That person was your love, your joy. And you were disastrously betrayed by them. And that's something that can take away your desire to exist. Because I assume you trusted her with your entire life. I assume that she was your entire life. You were thinking about things in the future with her included. And so with that gone, that just removes the entire potential of life in and of itself. So that's one of those, like, I never want people to judge themselves for feeling those feelings, because they are 1000% valid. Just is very important to have the perspective that there is a reason to stay. There are so many people that love and care and are here. And so I just wanted to touch on that, but continue.
No, that's fair. That's a good way of looking at it too. And yeah, actually, to your point, about the whole trust thing, I think my memory sucks, but I think even when this whole thing was going on before it all came to a head, I think I approached her and I was like, "Are you cheating on me?" And she was like, "No, like I would never ever do that to you." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And like I really took that shockingly for the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, it was somebody I was with for 7 years, and I was just like, "Okay, yeah, like she wouldn't lie to me. That's crazy."
Yeah.
And then so it came to that. I ended up closing off like hard. Like I stayed at home like a lot for like a year. I smoked a whole lot of pot.
Hey.
Yeah. I was okay with it then.
Yeah.
I had some close friends that came around. We'd almost always hang out at my house. Just smoked, hung out. This was actually around the time too that Forgetting Sarah Marshall came out.
Nice.
So like it was actually the perfect like coping movie where, you get your fucking heart broken by, blah 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 blah. But
that's
so that
actually, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
That through line. Okay. Wow. Yeah. That's
and I was actually
more comical.
I was so like heartbroken that I was afraid to watch it. But then like I watched it, I'm like, oh, this is the perfect movie ever actually for it. And then there was like this whole period where I just felt like really like not to state the very obvious, I felt like very fucked over by the whole thing. Like I just felt like I was the loser in all of it. Not like that I felt like a loser, like everything like went against me. Like everything just fell apart for me. And I was just like, you know what, this sucks, dude. And like I know it's a weird aspiration, but like I grew up and my grandparents lived in Florida. I just always enjoyed Florida. And I don't know what it is, but I did. And I always wanted to move to Florida. So I realize it's a crazy place to live now, but nonetheless. So after this whole thing went to shit, I at one point just decided, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to move to Florida. Like I'm going to set myself kind of like a timeline. I'm going to save up some cash. I'm going to move to Florida and just do me, like It's going to be about me. I'm going to, turn things around, da 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 da. And I don't know, are you familiar? It's corny, but it is what it is. If you ever heard that it was a movie and a book, but it's called Into the Wild, that
I've
Christopher
heard of it. I don't
McCandless.
think I've watched or read it. I know I haven't read it for sure. I might have watched it.
It's a hell of a stretch of a connection, but it's about a guy, a real life story where a guy, he always felt like an outcast and he didn't really feel like he belonged in society and stuff. So one time he ended up like, he finishes college, he donates all of his money to charity, and he moves to like Alaska to live out in the middle of fucking nowhere. But like, not that I was doing something that drastic, but like the piece of that movie, it came out like around the same time as well. And I read the book and everything, but it really, really like struck a chord with me. And I really had this like drive in me to like, I just want to like drop everything, go move and do what I want to do and start over. And like, I started like walking a ton. Like my brain just would never stop. My brain would just never shut off because of all the shit that was going through my head with the breakup. I just walk for like hours outside thinking about shit, planning things.
And how long is this after, by the way?
This all took place within like a year of me finding out of everything going south. Yeah. And it took like about a year actually from it going down to, I put it on her to pay for the divorce since she was
the cost of it.
Yeah, yeah. And I didn't have the money, so I'm like, well, so I had to like stand by and wait to officially get divorced from her because of financials getting in the way, blah blah blah. So I'm kind of waiting for this whole thing to officially come to an end. I plan things up where I'm gonna get rid of the house and do all this stuff, and we have the divorce. I had to go like to court with her and everything. And I remember I took her outside and I was like, hey, and we hadn't talked for like a year. And I was like, hey, I'm moving to Florida and I don't ever want to talk to you again. So
nice.
If you could like basically forget that I exist, that'd be great. I'm going to go start over. Best of luck to you. And I couldn't, like I said, this was during the housing crisis thing where everything went to shit. I already had the shittiest of homes you can have, which is a trailer, like a mobile home or whatever you want to call it.
Hey, it can move.
It could if it wanted to. It could be mobile if you wanted it. I couldn't sell it at all. Like literally not a single person was interested in looking or buying it. Like never had an inch of interest. So it's at the worst time for this ever. And I remember I called like the mortgage company and I basically said like, I said, I can't afford it. And they're like, well, tough. And I go, all right, here's the deal. I'm literally walking away from my house, like not figuratively. I'm going to leave my house. And they're like, okay. And like, there was a point, I remember the guy on the call was like, basically going like, shit, like you do have that option. Basically like, it's not great for you, but yeah, we can't really stop you from like literally just leaving the premises. So I, at the peak of everything being the worst, I just walk away. I leave like half the shit in my house. I gave like half of it to my sister at the time. I'm like, hey, do you need this stuff? Go nuts. Like, it's yours. I pack what I can in a U-Haul. I had a really, really, really shitty car that like actually kind of majorly broke down right before moving to Florida, but I had to like tow it behind the U-Haul. I had a dog at the time, which was brilliant.
Smart.
But pack up my dog. I tie up my car to the back of the U-Haul, and I head south for Florida. And as corny as shit as it is, there's like I said, that story about the guy with Alaska.
Yeah.
And there's like a soundtrack to the movie, and it's got like some Eddie Vedder songs and stuff. And like, I like cranked one of the songs up from the movie. Like when I hit like the highway to like head south to Florida, I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Like this feels good. I had like some joints rolled up for the drive down there.
Oh,
like,
perfect.
I was like good to go. We stopped overnight to sleep one night. We get down there, and yeah, this things just kept taking turn after turn after turn. While I had money saved up for this whole move, and I find out, I think it was like after I left, actually, some like major expense that I didn't know what was coming through came through and wiped out my bank account while I was with a U-Haul with all my shit in it to move to Florida. So I'm literally like penniless. And I don't have money to like fill up the U-Haul for gas. So there was some weird dumbass like loophole going on at the time banking wise where like you could just like overdraft your account. And I just kept overdrafting my account as long as I could for like a couple of days, filling up gas tanks, pulling money out of the ATM because I knew it was going to like shut off.
Yeah.
And I had set up a living situation with literally from some girl on like roommates.com or something insane. Somebody I'd never met. I get there the first day. I think she's cool because she wants to go get a tattoo on her neck, not realizing like in hindsight, like neck tats are a pretty ballsy move for either, a certain lifestyle or people that are a little unstable. You know what I mean? Like some people it's totally normal and then some people it's not so much.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. She was the unstable type, 100%. Literally mentally ill, like literally. Like we ended up butting heads hard. She was actually like a drug addict. I didn't know. It was actually the first time I was ever around cocaine in my life. She had like a party, and I'm so like ignorant to the whole thing. Like I literally at one point I go, "Wow, people are going in and out of my bathroom a lot."
Oh my God.
And then I started like realizing everybody's behavior. I'm like, "Oh, everybody's on cocaine here."
Yeah.
She ends up being a lunatic. We start fighting a lot. She like essentially kicks me out of the place that we're staying in. And trust me, like I would tell you if I was being a bad roommate, I really wasn't. Like I had at this whole time, this is also when my severe anxiety stuff was also coming to a peak after the divorce and doing all this stuff and the stress. She ends up kicking me out. I luck out big time, find a place to live with a couple of gay dudes who are gay together.
Nice.
And a 40-year-old bachelor dude to boot on the side, the straight guy. Just a bunch of dudes living in a house. And that was actually a really cool living situation. But I was lucky that I found it. It also helped me out mentally because, I mean, I'll admit it now. It's like, all right, well, I won't say it's embarrassing, but because you're going to probably correct me. But
probably.
When I went through with what I did with my ex, I ignorantly just started like like hating gay people. Like
yeah.
Yeah, as if it was like somehow to blame for everything. And I just thought like I don't know, I just had a lot of ignorant thoughts. And it ended up like I move in with these gay guys and they were the fucking best. And like they gave me a really, really true insight into like the gay community and what it means to actually like be legitimately gay and like how they're totally decent people and they're not evil and they're not out to steal your wife and stupid shit like that. And I just had a bunch of dumb young ignorant thoughts. And
Yeah.
luckily it was a big wake up call and like, oh yeah, I'm an idiot, these guys are totally fine, they're just people like anybody else, and wow, you should probably open up your mind and be a decent person too. So that was cool. I'm glad I encountered them. It was actually a huge, really cool learning experience. But yeah, the anxiety stuff, which is a big piece, that kind of all evolved out of the divorce thing. Definitely followed through with the whole Florida move. And then when I was living in Florida, I ended up weirdly, this was brilliant, rekindling a relationship with a girl that I went to school with, and we started doing a long distance relationship thing where she'd come down and visit me, I'd come visit her, and then I eventually decided to move back to where I live now for her. And when I moved back home, this was after like I don't know, like an 8-month relationship, I gave up everything again in Florida and moved back home because she wanted me to. And when I got here and moved into her house, she literally one day goes, I don't like living with you. Like, I don't like, it doesn't feel right that you live here. I'm like, well, guess what? I do. And I kind of gave up everything to be here for you. And she just changed a lot, and just totally flipped on me. And it was bizarre. It gave me severe anxiety issues. Like I had to like have friends come over so like to pick me up and I could go hang out somewhere else so I wasn't like living in hell constantly.
How long did you stay there?
Not that long. Like I ended up the job I had in Florida. It's like a chain. It's called it's called Batteries Plus.
Nice.
Yeah. It's like a chain, and I ended up finding that there was one in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So I kind of basically got like a transfer almost. So I had a job there, and I just had to save up some money once again, move out and start over again on my own. And yeah, I was only for a couple months there. It was basically like living with an ex almost while living with her, which sucked because it was just awful because we just weren't happy at all together.
Yeah.
And then we did a little on again, off again thing once after that, and that was obviously a horrific decision.
Usually is.
Yeah. And then shortly then afterwards, I met Mrs. Lokes, thank God.
Would you like to tell everyone, if they haven't realized, what your actual name is?
My name is Dan Laux.
Yeah. So for anyone who's just tuning in or who has continued to tune in, Lokes' last name isn't actually Lokes. It's Laux.
Yep.
He never corrected me it was probably a good year plus before you decided to finally just say, hey, by the way, that's not how you say it. So fun fact, everyone, it's Laux. So it's
one of my favorite moments of your stream was not even just you, like collectively, like at least a dozen people going like, what the fuck? That's not your name?
Yeah. You're just like, I don't care. It's just been Lokes.
I just roll with it.
Jeez.
And it ended up making a fantastic streamer name anyway.
I mean, you don't have to worry about how to spell it. I assume most people assume Loke is Loke, so you're freaking good.
I did. I hosted Grease Monkey, and he was like, "Thanks, Loki's," and he kept calling me Loki's. And Kiana still calls me Loki's all the time. It's hilarious, but he said it like a half dozen times. He's like, "No, thanks for the host, man. I appreciate you, Loki's." And I just rolled with it.
That's perfect. So, okay. So how do you get back into radio and how do we,
All right, Jesus.
You're so good.
Yeah. We took a quick detour. So yeah, what was it? So when I got with Mrs. Lokes, I was still doing the battery sale thing. And it was a pretty big deal. No, it really wasn't at all. I worked at like a retail store that sold batteries just because I did it for a long time and I knew a lot about batteries. It was not a passion of mine, believe it or not.
What? It's such an exciting endeavor.
Take your time with that.
Yeah.
So then I think I ended up getting like a retail job. Yeah, actually like at a used video game store, which actually was kind of fun, but other than the fact that you got to deal with the public and all that.
Yep.
But like I think it was a friend of mine's girlfriend worked at a radio station and like kind of had an in. And I was like, oh, I really, really always enjoyed radio. Like, I wonder if I could. And she told me that they were supposed to be hiring, so I put my name in the mix. Actually, very, very funny story, and it's quick. Before I landed the radio gig, and between that and the retail job, I ended up taking a pizza job out of like necessity, and I worked there at a pizza gig for 6 days.
Nice.
And on the sixth night, the owner came in and goes, so tonight's our last night of being open for business.
Oh.
And the whole staff was like, what now? You know? And he's like, yeah, we're going out of business. And everybody like looked at me for some reason. They're all like, we feel really bad for you. You just started working here. I'm like, no, I'm the least. I can do things. Like, you guys have been relying on this place for your job for months or years.
Jesus.
I'll find a place. So luckily, like, I think within days, the radio station was like, hey, come on in for an interview.
Nice.
They liked me, got hired for the job. I ended up working for the morning show, slowly moved into like doing weather and traffic reports.
Hey.
So that was fun, actually. I got moved to the afternoon show where the afternoon host didn't actually broadcast from the radio station we were at. Like the morning show, the morning host was in studio. I could see the guy, talk to him, everything. The afternoon show host like dialed in remotely from like another state, and
Oh,
yeah, it was weird. But he was kind of like a local fixture, if you will, of like talk radio and stuff. It was a talk radio station,
okay.
and we just like never hit it off. Like I got hired on to do his traffic and weather in the afternoons, and like I think you could agree. I understand like you can kind of uh dress things up a bit to make them more entertaining, but like I think you'd agree that traffic and weather isn't the most exciting thing to like recite on air.
No.
And I got off one day of like doing my report, and he goes, "Okay, thanks, Hal." And he was basically referring to me as like the robot from 2001: A Space Odyssey, basically saying like I sounded super robotic and was like just being an asshole. And I was like, "Okay, thanks, fuck face."
Oh my.
And then like right around this time was when my daughter was born. Like I had just started on the afternoon show. Little Oaks is becoming a child in the world. It was literally the day after my kid was born. I get a radio, or I got a radio. I get a call from my boss telling me that the asshole that hosts the afternoon show was firing me from the weather and traffic job, and that like I could no longer be on the show. And I'm like, bro, I'm literally in the hospital right now with my brand new
Oh,
baby, and you're telling me like she's like, well, we still have like a job for you. We can still like find you something to do, but you're off the show. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Well, fuck that guy anyway. Trust me, like
and you're how old now?
28.
It's seems
Yeah.
like the only plus to life thus far has been
I know.
Mrs. Lokes and the baby.
Yeah, I know.
Everything else is just you getting punched in the dick.
Yeah. And like, trust me, I would tell you if I was like a big, huge fuck up in this, like he was universally hated. He actually got fired shortly afterwards. He was not a good guy. But I ended up getting placed on what would soon become the next afternoon show. The guy was in studio and live. He liked me. This was like the coolest thing I got to do in radio, even though, radio's not all that glamorous. I basically got to become like an unofficial co-host of the show. Like I wasn't billed on the name of the program or anything, but like we would basically bounce back and forth the whole show. I ran the soundboard, I took the calls, but I'd make like jokes here and there, and I'd kind of like halfway like co-host the things, and it was really really fun. Um,
Nice.
but but like radio, like I said, it's not glamorous. It pays dog shit unless you're in like the top, basically, 1% of radio
Yeah.
broadcasters. They treat you badly. It was just not good.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, like, just a lot of taking you for granted, and
Mm.
like, a lot of that. So I think it was at that point, yeah, I found out through I had like a tattooed like rock and roll type friend of mine. He ended up like landing a desk job, and I was like, "What the hell are you doing like at a desk job?" I was like intrigued by whatever he was doing. If he was into it, like maybe I'd be into it too. And it turned out that he'd kind of like moved into the recruiting world and like worked at a desk job. And I got myself into that job. And this was in around like 2000. What would this be? 2013, maybe 20, something like that.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit later, but whatever. Um, and kind of introduced me into like the white collar branch of the world. At this point, I'd only worked like retail or, backbreaking work or, like low end, like very highly replaceable type jobs. And then I kind of got it moved into office life. And like part of it sucked, but I actually really, really liked part of it. There's like a whole aspect of recruiting. There's like recruiters who basically like kind of walk you through the recruiting process of getting a job. And then on the flip side, there's something called sourcing, where it's basically like, hey, we've got this really difficult to fill job and we can't find anybody to work this job. I need you to go seek out people like this and, kind of get them interested in a job.
Okay.
So I kind of became like a an online like sleuth or detective, basically trying to like do all these like cool, like kind of sneaky-ish type things to kind of find people. Like you gotta be really creative. You gotta like think outside the box. It's a lot of like you gotta make it up as you go. There's a lot of like tools involved online. But it was a really, really interesting arena to get into. I did that for a while at a couple of different companies, kind of progressed every time I moved along to a different company with like pay and responsibility and title and things like that. And then I ended up moving to a recruiting software company, and I stayed there until they went out of business in November of last year. And I was ceremoniously fired when they went out of business. And then that's when my little unemployment stint began. And around February of this year, we went to Loot Fest. I met your beautiful face and the other mods. And then in March of this year, I decided that I would give this whole streaming thing a try. And yeah, I've been doing this full time since March. Like, I have a unique, I think most people, start out part time and kind of work their way up and stuff. But I was trying to like make this work from the get go to be a full time gig.
Yeah.
So it's been kind of a unique entry. I mean, I'm fortunate that I've had like people like you and other kind of figures that I've paid attention to along the way. I started getting interested in streaming during the quarantine. I fell in love with it through Stone Mountain 64, Spartacus, a lot of the Facebook players. I found you through Spartacus. I've been around you for what I think
I think almost 2 years.
Now.
Yeah.
Jesus. So I've been around you for a long time. I know. Started moderating for you. And at the beginning, like, I always liked the entertainment aspect of it, but I didn't get into this thinking I would get into, doing it myself.
Yeah.
But kind of tying back into the thing I said about 3 hours ago about really not knowing what to do with career-wise, like, I kind of over time realized I probably could have really dedicated my life to stand up, but it's not that I can't do it now. I should actually get into it.
You should go to open mics and
hobby.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I should. And I keep telling myself that. The only thing kind of holding me back is my anxiety, but I need to push through it and just do it. But it's basically more or less out of the way and not an option as a career now. Like, I've waited too long. It involves a lot of travel. I've got a wife and a kid. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
But this whole streaming thing really allows me to kind of be my silly self. It lets me make people laugh. It allows me to create relationships with awesome people. It lets me flex my creative muscles, like making videos and doing stupid skits and just silly shit. And it's really, really nice, man. Like, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but people don't realize, no, I'm not looking for sympathy from anybody. People don't realize it's a really, really, really hard job in more ways than one. Like, if you're an emotional person, and I am, it puts you through it. It makes you feel a whole lot of things. Never underestimate a streamer when they tell you that they work a lot off stream. Like, dude, I know, but like, I spent like 8 hours making like a 1.5-minute video one time. Like,
yeah.
literally a day's worth of work on a 1.5-minute video. It's crazy.
It's
and
insane.
Like, I'm not complaining. It's just like, that's just how some of this shit works. Like, sometimes just these little things, like, but what's great is, I've had a lot of shitty jobs that I didn't care about that I hated.
Yeah.
And it's different when you work 8 hours on something you hate. It's different when you spend 8 hours making something that makes you laugh, that makes other people laugh, that somebody thinks is entertaining. It's nice to like bring people together over, stupid little shit that you do. And I'm putting myself down like playfully. I'm not really putting myself
of course
down. I'd like to flex that my lunatic community / your community as well too. Like, a lot of them, we managed to do the freaking fundraiser like a week ago where we raised like $3,700 in a week.
And you're at 197 followers.
Yeah. I was competing.
Ridiculous.
I was competing with a lady that had 8,000 followers.
Yeah.
Like I actually beat her. Not like not in a petty way.
You.
Like
Oh, you're at 200. Congrats on 200.
oh, I didn't know.
You're
I must have got a
exactly at
follower.
200 right now.
I guess while we were talking, someone gave me a
Let's
follow.
go.
But yeah, I was like going back and forth with a lady with 8,000 followers. I was like, guys, we are competing with like it's next level. There were tons of people in the fundraiser that had my size community, and like I would see stuff in the Discord. They'd be like, man, they were like, I got $20 last night, and like we were all like genuinely like, let's go.
Yeah.
They were psyched, and I actually felt like an asshole. I barely talked in the Discord. I'm like,
We're at 2,000.
Like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to be that guy, but like I was so proud, and I didn't want to come off as like braggadocious or something. But I was just like, I didn't know what to do, so I kind of just let it be. But like, you could do crazy things when you're around with amazing people. Like, I couldn't have fathomed that we did what we did. It's insane. But like, it's been such a rewarding job so far, man. Like, I know I'm telling you as if you don't know, but like, it's so rewarding, man. Like if you really, really do care about people and you are genuine with them and they're genuine back, and you get to spend so much time with people that they're from all different walks of life, man. It's crazy. Like I was saying it a couple of nights ago, like if it wasn't for streaming, there are so many people that I talk to daily that not only just geographically would I not have met them, but like totally different walks of life.
Yeah.
Like lifestyles and jobs and like everything, man. Like, and somehow we overlap and we have enough in common and enough, shared that it all just makes sense, and you get to like kick it and get to know each other on like a personal level. And it's pretty amazing. I don't know. It's pretty rad.
Would you say that that is the most unexpected thing, unexpected positive thing you've experienced since switching to that side of the camera?
Yeah. And I don't know. Yes, it's, I experienced it in a different capacity watching you.
Yeah.
And like taking part in the mod squad. And I know I've thanked you many times, but thank you again, man. Like just for the fact that
dude,
you've done what you've done. Like I got to work for free for you for a long. No, I'm joking. Like I got to mod for you. I got to be surrounded by the best people ever with the rest of your mods. We started growing such a tight friendship with everybody. We've been through some shit. We've been through great stuff. We've been through terrible stuff. Even with everybody just in the community alone, like, we see people. We had our first, like I said, we're Lokes folks. We had our first Lokes folks birth a couple days ago.
Hey,
like it's
nice,
crazy,
dude.
Like it's crazy, like it's. I don't take that shit lightly. Like it's so cool, man. Like we got like Ghost in. We share Ghost between communities. Like Ghost has got a new job. He's psyched about starting next week. Like you have those little like community personal moments of things that are just like amazing, and they're excited and they get to move on with things. And I don't know, it's just so cool, man. It really, really is. I'm really, really, really glad that I took the leap and I decided to kind of give this a try.
Dude, so I can't, even you saying March, I can't believe it's been 5 months.
Yeah. And it's weird that like I have like a microdose of like what you've gone through. Like I have like a 10% dose of what you've gone through. So like
you've had an experience. It could be exactly what I've gone through. You don't know. In terms of how you've experienced it, I should say.
Yeah. Like luckily I haven't been through like what you went through with like Facebook being a absolute dumpster fire. And but like, I've already seen, it looks like it might not become anything, but just even since I've started, we've got the birth of Threads, which means we might just have another platform that we need to grow on and expand our reach and monetize, or like, all this stupid shit. And when I post a video, I got to post it to, people don't realize, like, I got to sit here for a half hour and post a video to TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, wherever the hell else. Like I post it like 5 or 6 places.
Yeah.
Like posting it alone and putting the little hashtags on and everything, it takes forever. And then obviously that's on top of making the video. It's just like all this stuff. It's not that I didn't know that it didn't. It's not that I didn't know it existed before getting into it, but it's one of those things that like you really, really don't know until you start doing it. How much time and how much effort it takes. It's hard to like not just be like every single other streamer in the world, and like it's hard to come up with something original. I've only come up with like a thing, I think. And I try to tap into things like that. I'm trying to differentiate yourself from the group is hard. um as you know, like it's hard for content to take off, like the off stream stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like I put out videos, and no, I haven't put out a single video thinking like this is the one, man, this is the one. But I have like videos that I hope do decent, and nothing has hit like over, not like it's horrible, but nothing has hit like over a couple hundred views,
Yeah.
And you kind of hope that like something, just one thing takes off. And it's such a fucking gamble, man. Like it's a numbers game. It's just, you got to put out content, hope that something takes off, hope that they click on your profile, hope that they follow. It's all, it's not luck, but luck is definitely a factor.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
a lot of hard work, because like you do great, but like I'm not kissing ass. I'm telling you the truth. I said this on my stream. Like, you're one of those people that I don't understand how you're not like 4 to 5 times bigger than you already are.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I mean it. Yes, it's very, very much the truth. Like, between just one-off things that have happened with you, like the time that you ran into Tim the Tap Man, and like just things that you've been through with like Stone Mountain, like things that kind of like could have just ignited that little bit that you needed more.
Yeah.
Like, obviously it's introduced you to more and more people, but it's gonna happen. It has, like, number wise, you have to take off more, because
that's why I'm just not stopping. The only way you can not succeed is if you quit. So I'm just gonna keep going. Fucking send it, because that's all you can do, dude. And I was curious if. Oh, say what you were gonna say.
No, I was just gonna say, like, to the whole like emotional thing, like, and again, I know I'm putting the Lokes words out there. I'm not looking for sympathy or anything when I say this. I wasn't talking to you, just anyone listening. Like, I have been through some severe like ups and downs already in this like short stint I've been on here. Like, you feel things that you don't want to feel. You question things you don't want to question. Like, it's simple stuff, man. Like, you think, if I do this, are people going to stick around? Or is this person no longer tuning in because I suck? Is it because I did something wrong? Did I hurt their feelings? Is the content bad? Should I start streaming at a different time? Should I change what game I play? Should I focus more time on them? Should I focus less time? Like, and I've literally cried like,
Yep.
I would say a dozen times in the last like 5 months. You could ask my wife. I've questioned everything. I've gotten sad. I've gotten mad. To be obviously very fair, I've been happy the vast majority of the time.
Oh yeah.
But it's crazy, like, the roller coaster that you go on, even in the short amount of time I've been doing it. So I haven't even been through anything like severe, and I've been crazy fortunate. Like, I could still be easily streaming to like one person or less on a daily basis, but through good fortune of being in connection with you and you being kind with sending people over, we tend to hold like anywhere from between like 20 and 40 people at a time. And that's crazy for how long I've been on here. Like, that's unheard of for most people. Like, no, that's not like, celebrity numbers, of course, but like, for somebody that's been in the game as short a time as I have, that's very fortunate. And I've told you, and I still feel the exact same way. Like, I don't owe everything to you. I owe you for you being kind enough to kind of share me with your people, and then I credit me with the fact that I've kind of held people's attention as long as I have with certain people. So
yeah,
you kind of opened the door for me, but it was my job to make sure people came back, basically.
1000%.
Like, I've gone on raids and hosts and things, and I've tuned into the person and it just doesn't snap. Like I tune out within 30 seconds. Like, yeah, that's not for me.
Yeah.
So like, it's not an automatic thing. Like, oh, you get a raid, even if it was somebody bigger. Like if Stone Mountain raided me, that doesn't mean like I hit the big time. It means I have a very short window to impress maybe 10% of these people.
Yeah.
And hopefully some of them return and kind of come back to me on a somewhat regular basis. And, it's a grind, man, but it's worth it. I enjoy it a lot. Luckily, I love technology. I love computers. I love editing, media. It's fun. Like it takes forever, but it's a lot of fun and it's rewarding. You get to like see the thing that you created. You get to make it the way you want it. It's your fault or your or it's to your credit if it does well or bad. It's all on you. And I don't know. It's very, very rewarding in a sense. And I'm very, very glad I tried it. I mean, it's easy. It sounds so cliche and so obvious, but like, it's so easy to not do it, to not like commit. Like, it's so easy to just never go for it. And I think this is the first time in my life, really, 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 other than like maybe moving to Florida, where I took like a big leap. Like, I had to buy a fair amount of shit. I didn't have to, but I wanted to do it right. So I bought a fair amount of equipment. So I invested in myself, if you will. And I don't know. It's been rewarding, man. It's been really, really nice. I don't know. I think I'm just repeating myself at this point.
No, you're saying amazing things. What of the difficult things that you mentioned what are you most focused on? It can be one or a few things. What are you most focused on improving? Or becoming more consistent with, solid with, whatever language you choose to use?
Yeah. Couple things. Like, I need to become more structured. What's funny is, well, I don't think it's funny. The odd thing is leading up. You're such an asshole.
Keep going.
Leading up to this venture, I was actually doing the best I have done in my entire adult life of eating well and exercising, and that went out the window entirely since I started streaming. I kind of just I'm not making excuses. I just started putting all my time and energy into this, and I just dropped everything else. But I need to start working that back into my life because obviously, for all the reasons, like, it's going to make me feel better. I'll be less tired all the time. I'm going to have clearer mind, just overall better health. I mean, I'm obviously preaching to the choir of
I don't work out,
man in the United States.
Not at all.
Yeah. So that's a big thing. I want to get much more structured with planning for the week or the month or whatever. I mean, I was doing okay for a little bit and then it got away from me again. But I do find that if I sit down and I schedule like every Twitter post for every stream ahead of time, so I'm not sitting there at the beginning of stream every day, like trying to fumble through, what should I say? What should be the GIF or what should be the image? And I sit there like question shit for 5 minutes instead of just committing to it. If I schedule that ahead of time, it makes me so much more clear-headed.
Nice.
I'm ready to go. I need to be much more structured with my offline content. Like, I kind of just do it here and there. If something comes up and I feel like, if something kind of just strikes my brain as like, oh, that'd be a good video, I kind of just do it in the moment.
Nice.
But I need to like actually dedicate a day or days of the week where I sit down, I do nothing but edit some videos and schedule it and get all that stuff out there. And yeah, like it's these little, like, if people listening aren't aware, I started doing these little like TikToks and short form videos. I just call them basically something along the lines of like moments without context from live streaming. And they're these little tiny stupid snippets from my stream. And they just make for funny little short videos. Like, luckily those I can bang those out very easily and very quickly. But when it comes to, I have this video that I'm working on right now where I was trying to move animals from one pen to another in Minecraft, and it was a fucking disaster, and it was hilarious because I was getting infuriated, and it's so funny. but it's like a 10-minute long video, and it takes hours and hours and hours to make. And I gotta get better at like putting away a chunk of time every week to just sit down, mandatory, and get things like that done. This has been sitting on my computer for over a week now, and I need to make it. I need to get it out.
Why is it taking so long?
I don't know, dude. For one thing, like the way I kind of do it is like I'll kind of do the initial like fat trimming of what I don't need around it, and then I kind of go through a few rounds of like trimming here and there and making sure that there's no like wasted time in it. And then there's usually the added element of like adding little like meme type things in the middle of it, or sounds, or if it's going to be like if it's going to be like a TikTok type video, I got to go through and put the subtitles on top of it. Like all these little elements that kind of add up, and it's like kind of a whole process. And yeah, and I unfortunately I don't think I'll ever get to a point where I'll like outsource the editing, because I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I just have like a control thing with like,
no, that's
I know, fair. Yeah, like I know where I kind of want things to go, even though nothing of mine's taken off, but like I know what in my mind what I want it to be. So I have a hard time of like relinquishing that control to somebody else. But who knows? I could be totally talking out my ass with that. I could find somebody great that has the same kind of image and can do exactly what I want. So I don't know.
Yeah, there's still so many people who still edit their. I think even Lucci still edits his own stuff, and
really?
he's one of the he'll take days to just edit his long form. Pretty sure he does his own short form. Yeah, he does. That's why I always recommend everyone just edit their own shit when you start, because it also just gives you. I've been so proud and happy that you've been doing it, because you have been putting out such good stuff, and it lets you control like what is the story I'm telling? What version of myself do I want everyone to see? And then you are just in complete control. If like you were saying earlier, if the video does well, awesome, it was you. If the video didn't do well, awesome, it was you. So there's only one way. You're not stuck sitting there like, well, fuck, if they would have done one thing differently, then the video would have popped. You don't know, because you're giving it up to someone. Yeah. So but it also depends on how much time you want to spend, because that's especially, well, as you keep going, it's going to be easier and easier. You'll have presets. You'll know, all right, boom, boom, boom. You'll be done with something in an hour, where now it's taking you 4 to 8 or 10 or whatever the hell it is.
Right.
But yeah, dude, there's no shame or any negative connotation with editing your own stuff. That is, and you have what I would assume is the time to do it. Why the hell not?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're like, loving it. Why not?
If I'm not mistaken, doesn't Chadwick do his own stuff too?
I want to say Chad. Yeah.
Like he's the GOAT. Were you watching those like Activision like skits that he was doing?
Yeah.
Dude.
So great, dude.
Like I know Chadwick's not like Tim the Tab Man, but like he is a dude that I aspire. Like, man, I see his shit. I'm like, man, I'm so mad I didn't come up with that.
Yeah.
And I am like, he makes me want to be better with like offline content. He's so goddamn good at it. Yeah. And unfortunately, I haven't seen him be making much lately. He's probably doing other things with, streaming, but he's just a dude that I look up to. I'm like, dude, if I could touch like a glimpse of what he does. And I think he's pretty underrated in the grand scheme of things too, when it comes to stuff like that. Like, I can't believe one of those videos didn't take off like massively. But
that's the only frustrating part. Yeah, because it can be a great video, and for some reason nothing sticks. That's why I'm very happy, or it's good to know that you are in the mindset of enjoying making the videos. Because if you were not enjoying it and just doing it to have the success of the videos, you're going to drown yourself in sadness so quickly. But the fact that you even just enjoy creating it, so great. Do you have any, if you could tell someone who's just about to start to stream, they're starting their first stream tomorrow, what would you tell them?
Wow. I'm getting that question. Mm-hmm. I've seen you get asked the question a million times from people. Yeah. I just did a whole thing where I was explaining my thoughts out loud. I say it's very easy. So again, I've been very fortunate. This is going to go somewhere, I promise. I've been very fortunate that I've had people in my stream basically at all times since I started. But during the 24-hour stream, which was a don't do that. Don't do a 24-hour stream.
Yep.
It was the wee morning hours, and I was playing Minecraft by myself, and I realized like all my fantastic people, more or less, had like all gone to bed because, of course, they were going to.
They have to at some point.
Yeah, it was inevitable, and I knew that. But I realized there was a point where I was alone, and I was so goddamn tired, and I was like, there was like a little bit where I just sat there not talking. I'm like, oh, I got to keep talking, even if I'm not talking to somebody. Like I need to act as if there's somebody in here listening to me talk. So I tune in. I had some people that have found my stream and they stream. So I go check out their stream. If I could say stream a few more times in this sentence, it'd be great.
A couple more times.
Yeah, stream. I've seen some small time streamers come across mine and I go check out their streams. And no, I'm not a seasoned veteran, but I'll go in and they have like a viewer or two. And like they'll go 10, 15 minutes without ever looking to see if someone said anything in chat. Regardless of that, even if they do or don't, they don't say anything for like stretches of time that are like, I get uncomfortable. Like, please just say something. Like, say anything.
Like, just say, "Are you alive?" Blink if you need help.
Because it makes me think of before I got into streaming or even like was interested in it in any way. The concept of people, I used to be like, you watch people play video games. So like when you tune in and somebody's literally blankly staring at a screen and not talking and they're literally just playing a game and not interacting with you in any way, it gets weird.
Yeah.
So if you start out and you're going to start out with like no one, it's going to happen. Just talk. Like you don't have to talk nonstop, but just talk a little bit, make little stupid jokes to yourself if you have a sense of humor. Or if you're more of like the skilled type player, kind of just talk through like, hey, all right, so circle's closing in. I'm gonna wrap here to the left. I'm gonna see if I can get some high ground here and see if we can, make it to the final circle here. So definitely interaction, big thing. When you are interacting, don't bullshit people. Like, don't be a phony. Like, if you're gonna ask a question, stick around and like look for them to answer the question you asked.
Yeah.
Like don't just ask stupid surface level things like how's the weather, like you don't have to break open your soul to somebody, but ask something that kind of matters and have follow-up questions. Give a shit about what they're saying. You may not have the best setup in the world, but kind of make whatever it is that you've got the best it can be. I got a shitty camera, but I've looked into videos where you can look into like filters and overlays and all these things that you can kind of put on top of lower budget things that can make it kind of better than it would be on its own. What else? I mean, try not to like, there's nothing wrong with like kind of emulating somebody you look up to, but try to be yourself. If you look up to like a Tim the Tap Man, there's nothing wrong with kind of like carrying somebody else's energy or something, but don't be like ripping off somebody's entire image, just to be your own person. Just try to be yourself, be genuine, interact, care about the interactions. And also like you're going to have people be shitty to you. It's going to happen. I've actually been happy with people are probably gonna be laughing at me, but for the most part, I really don't let a lot of those shitty people get to me. More times than not, like I find it hilarious how shitty people can be and what they dedicate their time to.
Yeah,
but
that's fair.
I don't know. You're gonna get hate for absolutely no reason.
For existing.
Yeah, just I had a guy. This is a great story. It's very very short, but there was a guy that I didn't tell you about this. A guy recently came into my stream, and this was like his opener. He was just like, he said something like, "You look like a Republican from the South," and I was like, "What?" And he's like, "You just look like you'd be like a red state, like Southerner." I'm like, "Based on what?" And he's like, "You have a bald head," and I was like, okay. And I go, so like, what's your deal? And then he said something about he lives in Germany. And I go, I could make some
Oh,
pretty wild assumptions about where you live and the affiliations you could have. And he goes, that's xenophobic. And I go, you're out of your mind, bro. You
oh
literally
my.
just did the same thing to me. And then no one even asked you. And it's like, I just immediately banned him. I'm like, get out of
Yeah,
here.
that's
This is
smart.
insane. Like, you can
That's
come in here, label me however you want. But if I say anything jokingly back to you, I'm a monster. But yeah, people are special.
that.
It was nuts, dude. And like something too that I've been I struggle more with this kind of stuff with streaming. I have a harder time when, say, I have somebody that's kind of a routine viewer and like they stop coming around.
Yep.
Like I don't want anybody to feel bad. That's not why I'm saying this, but like it kind of like hurts my feelings, but also like it makes me question like everything. I'm like, did I stop making content that they like? Did they find somebody better? Like I almost want to do like an exit interview with
Yeah.
people that stop watching. Like, hey, no hate, like all
But
good.
also, can you fill out this survey real fast?
Yeah, just give me 5 to 10 minutes. Like, was it me? Is it the content? Did I, whatever. So it's still like it's tough to accept that when people stop tuning in, but it's definitely part of the territory. I get that. What
How
was the
have
other
you
thing?
gotten with that? I remember that's at least a few weeks ago or a month that was a struggle. Do you feel it's gotten better? Is it still something you're working through
It's
easier at times, still as difficult at others?
Yeah, it's a little better, but I'm still not good at it. Like
Yeah.
I'm a bit more accepting of it. I don't like beat myself up. It's just I don't know when to like analyze it or just when to go like, oh, it happened. That's all it is. Like I just genuinely want to know if it's something that I'm doing content wise or if it was a completely meaningless, like this is just how their life is going and now they're not watching. And I'm not going to be privy to that information, so I just got to deal with it and kind of, adapt. But it is what it is. And then, you know, I'm a smaller streamer. I hold, like I said, somewhere, but usually around like 20 something people. And so when somebody new swings by, I get excited and like, I'm like, oh, welcoming to them. And it's genuine. Like, I'm like, hey, somebody new, like, let's chat them up a bit. And then like, it'll go well. And then I feel like an overly eager like dude like coming onto a chick sometimes. Like, no, no, don't go.
So,
But like when they don't like come back for other streams, it's like, oh damn, like it didn't work out. Like I didn't lock them enough or whatever. You just kind of question, like, did I do something wrong? I was joking mostly about the whole like over eager like coming on to somebody, but I get excited. Like I want somebody new to hang out with, somebody new to like
yeah.
get to know, come become part of the community. So it's just tough when you get excited, you get somebody new, and then they don't return. But that's 100% part of the job. So
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
That's most of the job.
Yeah,
Because you have
rejection's cool.
rejection's awesome, but I think if I mean, for me, it's an easy way to look at it of how many followers do you have? How many people are in there? There you
Right.
go. There's just the reality of how many people are busy. That's it. And you got a hell of a better percentage than I do. So if anything, I should be the one that's feeling self-conscious.
No, I get it, man. And then especially with you where you started everything on a completely Jesus. Started on a completely different platform, moved to a completely different platform, and then basically you had to do this like
And then
3
move
times.
to a completely different platform.
Yeah, like and you've been like it's a testament to you that you still have many, many people that have been with you since Facebook. Like even though I was actually thinking about this today, like I was trying to make some sort of an analogy of like because I won't say their name in case they don't really want it to be publicized, but a decent sized streamer on Facebook is finally deciding on like relocating. Thank God.
Nice.
And they were like weighing like Twitch or Kick. And I was just like, and I know like people like Grandma, she's said it. That's why I feel okay bringing it up. Like she's had a struggle with people being willing to relocate from Facebook to another platform. Like, I don't know why, but whatever. But I was just thinking, like, if you were in like a relationship with somebody and they were like, hey, if you like, I'm gonna move next door, but like me moving next door, I'll be happier. I'll actually make more money, and like our relationship stays the same. You just gotta drive to the house next door instead of the house I'm living in right now, and it would help me out. And people are like, nah, like I don't
Yeah.
get the mentality of like, because actually, I'll admit, back when you went from Facebook to Twitch, I was reluctant because
Oh,
I
we
didn't
all
know.
hated it.
I know I didn't like Twitch,
Yeah.
but like I was just being ignorant about it because by the time we switched over, I'm like, oh, actually, there's a lot of cool features to Twitch that I didn't realize, and but like it sucks that people have to you go through these loss of community members out of just that mild switch. Really, it's
Yeah.
all just a matter of a different URL that you're going to or a different app, and not knowing, or I don't know, not caring enough to know that this move is very important to the content creator. Like if from going from Facebook to Kick, it means what? You're keeping like double your income? Like doesn't that seem nice to somebody that you care so much about that you watch them every single day and you send them money and you subscribe to them every month? Like don't you want them to make more money from the money that you spend the same amount on?
Absolutely not. No, I want it to be all where I want it to be. No,
And that makes
I
sense.
don't. And that's a very, it is an interesting thing, but it's still, I think it's even one of those, like, I don't care to like think about it. Cause I get everyone has their own little routine. Some people I feel are on Facebook and then a stream pops up and they're like, oh my gosh, it's just like another thing you have to think about. But I 1000% agree. Like that's a very, very hilarious analogy. And it's like, you don't even have to get in your car and drive. You literally type in something different before I got puppies. That's it.
Yeah.
It's so easy. You literally cannot move and do it. And it's
Yeah, and
no issue. And it'll go just as smooth. I
and they'll be
don't
like,
know.
I don't have an account. It's like, okay, well, first, it's even if it's just a regular account setup, okay, that takes 2 minutes. Most things you could just go like sign in with Gmail, and it's like the barrier is so
The barrier to
they make
entry
it-
is it's so easy. You don't even have to
Yeah.
two-factor authenticate right away. You
No.
just need an email. And
Yeah.
you don't even need to remember the password. Yeah, because you could say, do you want to sign in with Google? Do you want to sign in with whatever? And you just go Google, and then it all has your shit because you probably have your password saved. No person doesn't have it saved. And
Sure.
you're literally logged in with a new account in 30 seconds.
and I get it. Like on the flip side, to an extent, like I love routine. I get it. I do
Yes.
understand and appreciate a good routine. I do. But
But
if everyone like benefits from the new routine, like you got to be a little bit open minded. I think and
yeah.
there's that.
Dude, do you have anything? Because I'm good. That was beautiful.
Well, I'm just getting started. So no,
Perfect. Yeah. Go ahead.
That's all I have. That's all I have.
Dude, well, shoot. Thank you for taking the time out of your. Wait, what? Oh, you never explained why we went 2:30 as opposed to 3:30.
Oh,
Did you have to poop?
No, it's really not that interesting. My daughter tonight she has a musical tonight, Saturday and Sunday. At the same time, Jesus, they're reconstructing our entire road. I needed to go get dinner with my car, but my car was dead. It was a matter of like having transportation to go get food and them leaving for the show. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. I'll be able to eat. You're good. I release you of your duties. Everything. It's not a very interesting answer. That's all.
I feel like you still never answered. We're still waiting.
I wanted to make sure I could go get food at some point between this and my next stream, and my wife and kid could get to where they get to go with the car that they need, and I'm okay as well. Words.
I love that. So are you staying on or are you done for now?
I'm done for now. I'll be getting on in a couple hours.
Beautiful. Then I will not be sending the people to you.
Good call.
Yeah.
That'd be a waste of time.
Where can everyone find you? Where would you like the follows?
Mostly MySpace. If you guys are still active on myspace.com/ kick.com/LokesLive. I think everything on every platform, I think it's just LokesLive. I think the only one that it's not is Instagram and Threads. Apparently, somebody has LokesLive, but it's like a dormant account, which is pretty cool. So
Same
it's like
with
LokesLive.
the original I Got Puppies.
Yeah, I saw
Since,
that.
like,
It was actually around the
2013.
same time. Yeah.
Yep. So stupid,
So
dude.
it's either LokesLive or LokesLive Gaming. It's mostly LokesLive, but yeah, I think all my stuff is linked up to my Kick account anyway. But
Okay, perfect. Dude,
I'll
thank
let
you.
boy.
I appreciate
All right.
you, man. Enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy that journey to food, and I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Me.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my non-binary friends, that was a beautiful conversation with the one and only LokesLive. So weird to call him LokesLive and not just Lokes. But dude, he's a streamer now, so we gotta shout out the full name. Thank you guys for your love, your attention, your time, and I hope you guys enjoyed that beautiful conversation, dude. I love learning more about everybody. It's so incredible what everyone has gone through and what leads them to their peace or what they're supposed to do and or meant to do in life. And it's awesome. So I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. The best thing you guys can do for this podcast is rate and review. All right. Save it as a favorite. Mark it down so that you make sure you're never missing an episode. New episodes Mondays. And that's what we got. I think this is going to be the last live recorded podcast that we do. All the others, or at least for the next few, I'm going to try and do them offline so I can get more of you to actually listen to the offline versions. But yeah, drop a review, drop a like, write a comment wherever you're listening to this, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Remember, you're only as amazing as you treat other people, so be kind to someone for no other reason. And it's the awesome thing to do. The podcast is over, but the stream's still going. Love you. Appreciate you. Catch you guys on the next one.